All right, we're hot.
All right, guys, this is 704 Paranormal here at Summit Gaming and Collectibles with CJ, the owner, and he's got some interesting stuff here. A couple of cursed dolls, cursed painting, so hopefully we're going to let the man talk and give us a good story here and kind of figure out what's happening.
Okay, so we have probably definitely two separate stories. So the picture and the doll are totally different. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the painting, if that's okay, because it's kind of quick and it's cool, semi-cool story. So we received the painting from a lady in Wilkesboro. I don't recall her name. I apologize about that. But she just brought it in to us one day. She said she came for the doll, which I'll get into here in a minute. But she found this in her attic. So the story goes is that she found this in her attic that's been in her family for generations, the home itself. She brought it down. Her father still lives with her. Her father said that this was actually her ancestors in the painting, or in the picture. It's not a painting, it's an actual picture. The cool thing about it is it was a death photo. So the young girl sitting in the middle of in the chair in the photo, I'm sure you guys will show them, she's deceased. The girls that are standing on the outside are alive. I thought it was really neat because it's turning the century. That's what they did with photos. You know, they would take a picture with the deceased. She was saying she was seeing, when she brought it down, she hung it up on her wall in her house. She was seeing a bunch of embodied figures and stuff, things happening around it. I can't necessarily tell you that's happened here because we haven't witnessed anything off of the photo itself, but it's a really cool story in itself.
Now, how long have you had the photo?
So we've had it for about, I would say, 2.5 years.
About 2.5 years?
Yeah, so we've had it for a good while.
Okay, and not really noticed anything?
We have never noticed anything, but, you know, there's things that's happened within the building itself that we can't explain, right? So, for example, there is a, over here to my right on the floor, you've all passed through it, probably heard it creak a few times. There's times that years ago, this wasn't an open space as it is now. Instead, it was a office that was kind of behind you. And I was sitting back here in my office space away from it. You could hear the floor creak in the middle, early in the morning, nobody's here. Things like that's happened, but is that around the picture itself? I can't say it is. I will say I've never felt anything off of the photo like I have the doll.
Okay. Now, before we get to the main doll, can you explain a little to me about that one? Or
okay, so
I know you didn't have much of a backstory.
I don't have much of a backstory on this. So everybody knows that we like to collect things like this. So every once in a while, people will bring me things and say, "Hey, this was something that we've witnessed at our house." So this doll just came to me very recently. I haven't done much with it. Far as the story goes is that they have found a doll at their house. They thought it was their grandmother's. They went to the grandmother who apparently lives with them in the house. The grandmother's never seen it before and they don't know where it came from. So it just showed up. Their daughter was carrying it around like a, you know, like a play doll like it is, and they just don't know where it came from. So they felt like it just showed up at their house. They didn't want it at their home no more, so they brought it to me. This is the kind of stuff we have here, right?
Kind of stuff we like.
Well,
yeah.
That's why collectible stores are always so cool. I mean, everything from your games to your vintage cards to haunted items. I mean, you never know what you're going to get.
You never know what's going to come in the door. And I will tell you, I've probably had 2 other haunted dolls come into this place. Somebody said. But you always got to be careful, right? You don't know if they're trying to tell you it's haunted because they want to get money for it.
Correct.
Know? But I will lead that into Cynthia, though. Because we did get Cynthia. That's what we call her. And I'll tell you why we call her Cynthia in the story. She is a very unusual, different type of doll. I don't even want to know what she's going to do with all this here. We've never really done this before. But anyway, so I'll just tell you about Cynthia. So 3 years ago, I had a lady call me on the phone. She told me that her and her daughter like to visit thrift stores. They use it as a bonding experience. Well, the mother used it as a bonding experience with the daughter. That every time they visit a thrift store, her daughter liked to look for scary looking dolls. That was her thing. She collected scary looking dolls. So they were on vacation, had a little time in between, I guess, whatever they were planning for that day. They were on vacation in New Orleans and decided to stop by a thrift store. So as they went into a thrift store, they were walking around. The daughter found Cynthia and bought her. They didn't think nothing of it. They actually put the doll into their duffel bag or suitcase, whatever it may be, to get it home, and brought it home with them. So that day, as they got home, the daughter went to her room, the mother went to her room, I guess they were unpacking, whatever, and the daughter came walking into her mother's room and said, "Mom, I need you to come in my bedroom." So she comes into the bedroom. And so let me kind of give you the orientation, because the mother did explain me the orientation of the room, because it is significant. So apparently, as you walk into the room, above the daughter's door is a shelf, and that's where she would put the dolls. Across the room from the shelf is her bed. The mom says she walked into the room and the doll was sitting on her bed, and the daughter said, "Mom, I did not put this doll on my bed. I put it up on that shelf. I turned my back. I started unpacking more clothes. I turned back around, and the doll was not up on the shelf no more. It's sitting on my bed." And the mom said that she could tell the daughter was spooked. But she picked up the doll. The mother explained to me she picked up the doll. She walked up to the shelf, and she could see where the daughter did clear out a section where the doll used to be. Where she cleared it out to put the doll up there, right?
She had a place.
Yeah, so she apparently walked up there and at least opened a spot to put the doll up. The mother did see that. She thought that was a little significant, but however, she just put the doll up there and basically wrote it off as in, you thought you put it up there. Right, we just took a long trip. You thought you put it up there. You cleared the spot out, and you put it on the bed instead. She didn't think nothing of it. So she said a couple days went by. She went into her daughter's bedroom. Apparently the daughter wasn't there. Now I will say I never met the daughter. I'm assuming she was a teenager. The mom was of age where she would have a teenage daughter, right? So she said she walked into the room. She didn't tell me what she was doing in the room, but she said she walked in the room and the doll was not up on the shelf. It was in another spot inside the room. She didn't tell me where she found the doll the second time. She just said that it was not in its original spot where she put the doll. So this is when the story gets very interesting, because that's when she decided that she was going to use another bonding experience, and she was going to go and purchase a Ouija board. So
love it.
Yes, it just has all the feelings for it, right? So she did, and I used to own the Ouija board too. I actually had the Ouija board. I did not like having the Ouija board here, so I sold that. Oh. Yeah, I did. I used to have it out next to her for a while, but it was too.
Was it a vintage Ouija board?
No, it was your true blue Toys R Us Ouija board that we've all seen, right?
Yep.
Probably all had one too.
Yeah, we've all had it. So, and she said that the reason why she did this is because she used to play with them when she was a kid, and they would always scare each other and whatnot. Well, she got the Ouija board, and she said later that night, she got the Ouija board out, and actually her and her daughter were using the Ouija board. And that's when they said they contacted a spirit that said it was a young girl named Cynthia that was attached to the doll.
So that's where you got the name.
That's where we got the name Cynthia from. We didn't name her, the Ouija board named her. It's the best way I could say it, right? So she didn't say much more about the session with the Ouija board. However, she did say that she knew enough to say goodbye with the Ouija board. So she said that they said goodbye, they packed the Ouija board up, And then that's when she said she started seeing, her and her daughters started seeing things in the house that wasn't normal. They would see shadows in the rooms. Doors would, I'm getting chills talking about this. I don't know, I've told this story a million times. I don't never get chills. But I'm never telling it at night. So that's when they started seeing shadows. Doors were open where it was originally closed. She specified the kitchen cabinets were always were open whenever they would be closed. They would turn around, look back, the kitchen cabinet doors would be open. And so she's telling me over the phone, right? And by this time she gets here. Now I would like to give a little indication because it kind of gives an understanding of how she was acting, because she was weird. So if you don't mind, let's pretend like this is the Ouija board.
Okay.
Okay, this video game, and this was the doll. Okay, so she comes walking in. She walks in with the Ouija board, with the doll sitting on top of the Ouija board. She never touches the doll the whole time she's here. She brings it to me, and I don't want to interrupt your camera, but I'm going to kind of set it right in front of you. She sets it on this glass case right here in front of me. And she finishes telling me some of the story that she just told, that I was just telling you. So she didn't finish the whole story over the phone. Some of it was over the phone, and then finished when she got here. So the Ouija board and the doll is sitting in front of me just like we see here, but more in the middle. And, you know, I'm looking at it, and at this time I'm thinking to myself, because that's what I do, I buy, sell, trade, you know. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking to myself, I could sell this Ouija board. I'm not really thinking much about the doll. You know, in my mind, I'm like, she's just feeding me a story to sell me this doll, but I could sell the Ouija board. Because that's what I sell. I sell horror merch back there. And so, I asked her, I was like, how much, you know, how much are you selling me this Ouija board? Because everything has a monetary value to it. Anything somebody brings in here, it could be the trashiest thing, they want me to buy it. She looks at me, and she dead in the eyes, and she says, I don't want to know what she does if I sell her to you. She is yours. And then she slides the Ouija board across the table to me, gets it close to me as she can, and she looks at me and she goes, sir, my daughter doesn't collect haunted dolls. She collects scary dolls. This is yours, and that's it. And so at that moment, I'm kind of flabbergasted because, again, nobody ever wants to give me anything. They want to sell me stuff. So I'm trying to, at the moment, I'm trying to think of what I'm going to say to her, right? So I'm like, you know, I'm just going through my mind, and at this moment, she's leaving. And this is really creepy.
So she just kind of dropped it off and then slowly just kind of backed that way. And
she told me probably about 5 more minutes of the story. She ended the story, basically the Ouija board portion. We pushed the Ouija board back and forth in front of each other, and then she told me she was giving it to me. Did you hear the upstairs?
I did.
So I don't know if my son is over here, if that was him or not, but we hear that all the time. But as she's walking that way, and I'm kind of following her with my eyes, right? And I'm trying to think what I'm going to say. Thank you. No, let me give you $5. I don't know what I'm thinking, but I'm not saying anything.
Well, you always got to worry when someone wants to give you something and they're not actually trying to.
Right, exactly. It's very strange. You know, it's more strange to me than me giving you money for it.
Right.
So she gets to the door. This is so weird. It brings a hair up on my arm every time because for some reason this weirds me out. Maybe not everybody else, but for some reason this is a super weird part to the story. So if I'm asking you, if I'm bringing something to you, right, and I'm going to give you this item, and I'm telling you that it's doing this crazy thing in my house, you're going to at least let me know your name. You're going to tell me where your house is. You're going to contact me in some way to see if you're not crazy,
So
right?
she didn't give you any kind of information?
No information. This is the last thing this lady says to me as she walks out my door. She puts her hand up to me. She does a wide 5. It's not like this. It's not, you know, it's a wide 5, really stiff. And she looks at me and says, she's your problem now, and leaves. That's the last time I've ever talked to that lady.
So you never heard from her again?
Never heard from her again. And if I'd have known what I know now about Cynthia, I would have taken down her contact information. But I have people come in here selling me stuff every day. I don't take down everybody's information and think I'm going to call them back because things are happening. All right, so she's gone. That was it. That's the last time I ever talked to this lady. So the day she brought it to me is a Saturday. We're closed on Sundays. So this is right at the end of the day. It's actually around fall, so it was kind of dark outside. I'm ready to leave because at that time, Sundays, was the only day I was off. You know, that was my weekend. So I picked the Ouija board up with Cynthia sitting on top of it. And I take her to the back into a processing area. I take the Ouija board. I haven't touched the doll at this time.
Still haven't touched it.
I still haven't touched it. I'm not really thinking much of the doll. I take the Ouija board. Matter of fact, I'm thinking more about what I'm going to do for the weekend.
Right.
I take the Ouija board and I put it on top of a bunch of board games. The doll sitting on top. And I leave.
Now, was the Ouija board in the box? Or
The Ouija board was in the box. It was
Okay.
all still in box and everything. Yeah, it was packaged up like it just came from the factory or whatever. So I set it onto some board games. I locked the doors and I left. Didn't even think much about it while I was gone on Sunday. Monday, I come walking in. I unlock the front door. I walk in and Cynthia is sitting in the middle of my floor. So I'm trying to rationalize the situation. At that point, I'm going, did she just fall off? I was ready to go. It was late. It was dark. I was wanting to get home.
Did I actually put her back there?
Yeah, did she fall off or did I actually put her back there? So at that point is the first time I ever touch her. So I pick her up and I walk her back to the room where the Ouija board is. Ouija board's still sitting in the same spot as it was when I left on Saturday night. I put her on the Ouija board and I made a mental note at that point. I was like, if you move again, I know. Locked the door, went about my business. 2 days later, we find the doll sitting in another spot in the building. I'm the only person that had access to the room. I didn't move her. So
she was still in the same room?
No, she was in a totally different room.
And that was... So she wasn't in the room you locked?
That's right.
She was in a different room altogether?
In a chair in a different room.
And the room was still locked?
The room was still locked.
Crazy.
So now I'm saying this is correlating with her story. This is everything she told me. Other than I'm not seeing shadow people, but I'm seeing the doll. I'm witnessing the doll move just like her daughters said as soon as she brought it home. So that at that point, that's when I decide that I'm going to get a case for the doll. So the case that you see with the doll, it's creepy looking, but it's not original to her. I thought, one, it fit her perfectly, the actual inside of the case. It's easily the display, but one, it has a glass on the front. It's old, it's creepy. But one really interesting thing that I really thought about when I purchased it is it's magnetized. So the door is held by magnets.
Okay.
So what that said to me is, if the door is ever open, then vibration or something has it created.
It's not going to open it.
Yes. So that was significant to me. What we'll witness, but you'll never see it looking dead onto her. You'll catch it out of the corner of your eye or after you walk out of the room, the door will be open. On 5 separate occasions, the door has been open and Cynthia has been outside of the case. One time she was sitting up against the white shelves there, legs sticking out just like she's just taking in the day. Another time she was sitting on top of the case with her legs dangling off. Another time, I have some horror posters that I sell back there.
Right.
They used to be underneath her case. She was sitting on top of the horror posters. And to me, the weirdest time is she was sitting on top of the case. So the door was open and the case and the doll was on top. So that is 5 times we have witnessed her her moving, and that's her story. So we have a few side stories that we've witnessed since we've had her, which we've had her for a while. If you guys are okay with me telling you a few that are else has happened.
Please.
So one time, so she used to not. If you see her, if you look at her, there's a piece of wood inside the case. It's kind of it's what she's hanging on. It's almost like a 1x2 or whatever it may be, 1x1. Well, we used to have it held up by L brackets down at the bottom, and at the top were hooks, and the hooks were kind of like a safety mechanism. You know, if the L bracket or something somebody hit it, knocked it off the L bracket, the hooks would catch it. Well, one day we were all in the back. We were having a meeting. It was early in the morning, beginning of the day. We're all having meetings about what we were going to do, or what, you know, future plans or whatever. We come walking up. Now this is early in the morning. This is the day.
Right.
We come walking up. The door of the case is open, and she is hanging out. Now that never happens. She's either in her position with the door open, or she's out of it. She's never hanging out.
So you've never caught her in the act.
It's like we caught her in the act, right? That's what I felt like too. Now, why I brought up the hooks is when I walked up and I seen her like that, and I'm going to push her back in and close the door, I noticed hanging from one of those hooks is a strand of her hair about this long. And we used to keep that strand in the hooks for a while until we finally moved her one day.
So, I mean, even with the hooks, if her hair was caught in it, just her leaning over, it's not...
Exactly.
It would actually kind of have to tug in order to pull that out.
Well, one thing about it is her hair is made out of yarn. If you go and look, her doll hair is made out of yarn. And there's a significant reason why they make clothes and stuff out of yarn is it's small bits, it's really strong.
Right.
You know, normally if you're going to pull a piece of yarn out, it comes out in a long length, right? Well, it was only a piece about that long. So to me, that was force. And the hook, also a good significant point of the hook, is it was about that far from the top of her head. So it was almost like she lifted up. The hook caught in her hair. She got stuck in a position, tried to pull herself out. We come around the corner. She jerked even harder. Piece of strand of her hair came out. I didn't catch that on camera or anything.
I mean, that's kind of what it would seem like, but if there was,
the evidence is there, right?
That much space in between the doll and the hook.
Right. So that's one story that we've had. Now, I will say that Cynthia's gotten the name of herself throughout town. A lot of people come in and want to look at her, hear the story, talk about her, tell me stories of themselves that's happened to them. But there was this one time, there was this young lady and her boyfriend. And I say young, she was probably 19, 20.
Right.
She came here, and she would walk up. Her and her boyfriend would only go and look at the doll. That's all they looked at. They didn't look at any of our merchandise or anything in here. They would just go and look at the doll, and that was cool. I don't mind that. You know, that's what she's there for, the way I look at it.
Right.
So they would walk up and look at the doll every day for 3 days. The third day, the girl walked up to me and she's like, "Do you mind if I hold her?" And I was like, "Listen, I don't mind if you touch her, but that's what the warning is up there for. You know, I put a warning up there because I didn't want somebody to be like, oh, a doll, and then touch it, then hear the story and freak out. You know?
Right.
So I was like, I'm warning you that we have witnessed stuff with this doll, and that is your warning. But yes, you can touch the doll. I touch her all the time. You know, anytime she's out, I have to pick her up.
Somebody's got to put her up, yeah.
So she grabs the doll, and I'm going to use this doll as a reference point because it's perfect. She grabs the doll. She's holding it like a baby, like a newborn baby in her hand, right? And I'm kind of sitting back. I'm just letting it happen, but I'm not here no more. I'm over there with them, right. But I'm giving them their distance because she seems to be enjoying herself. And the boyfriend's sitting there watching, and, you know, they're talking, but she's talking to it like a baby. And all of a sudden, I see the blood leave her face. And she looks at me, and she goes, "She's vibrating." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "The doll is vibrating." And I get super close and I look in her hair. I can see the vibration in her hair.
In the doll?
In the doll, in Cynthia. Just vibrating really fast. And I don't ask her this. She just takes the doll and holds her out like that, like, hey, you touch her. You know, and I grab her, and I'm not holding her like a baby, but I grab her, and I'm not feeling nothing. I'm not seeing nothing. So I'm like, I hand it back to her, you know. I'm like, let me see if it does it again to you. She takes the doll back, and sure enough, I can see everything is vibrating.
Now, was it the doll vibrating, or was she scared and she was vibrating?
Good question. That's a good question. However, I didn't feel like, I felt like she was into this kind of stuff. So
It didn't seem like it would scare her.
I didn't feel like she was going into it scared, right? Now, I didn't see her arms vibrating. But again, I didn't look that deep because it kind of, everything I'm saying right here went by in probably about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. But she takes the doll back in her hands, and I can see the hair vibrating. Not the whole doll.
Just the hair.
Just the hair. But now she's feeling the whole doll. And she hands the doll back to me, looks at her boyfriend, they leave. I've never seen them since.
Never seen them again.
Never seen them since.
And they came 3 days straight in a row.
3 days straight in a row just to see the doll. Now, to kind of end the story about Cynthia, we have come to understand, and this is just an understanding, I could be wrong, but I don't feel like it's demonic, and I don't feel like it is nefarious. I think it's an attention thing.
Right.
Because after having her for 3 years, we've come to realize that if I tell her story, she does less. The more I tell her story, the less she does. So, and I tell her story a lot. But if days go by and I haven't told her story, is when her door starts opening.
Now, I noticed that the door the glass is cracked. Now, is there a story behind that as well?
There is a story behind that. Thank you. I almost forgot to tell you that. So, she wasn't in. She used to not be in that spot. This wall, this behind you, used to be a wall. And she used to be right there on the wall. You know, kind of closer to where we are.
I remember that.
And so we decided, and a couple Octobers ago, we're going to tear these walls down to gain more space. It only makes sense, right? So. The construction guys were going to come in the following day. It was my job to take everything off my walls. I had like some posters and her and a bunch of other stuff on the walls. So it was taken upon myself to take it all down to make sure I took it down correctly. It was safe, didn't break, yada yada. So I take her off the wall. Okay, I take her case off the wall. For some reason, when I get the case down, I put the case far back. But I take her out of the case. I don't know why I did that. I just did that. I'm not really 100% sure why that made sense at the time. But I put her sitting up onto some books that we had off to the side. Some like Nintendo books or something. But the case was over to this other side. Now, construction was starting the next day. So, and I was the last one to leave. So I'll walk in the next day because I wanted to make sure that all my ducks were in a row before they started. Everything was out of their way. I walk in and I'm looking at everything. It took me about maybe 10-15 minutes to walk up to the case and Cynthia, and that's when I realized straight down the front of the case is a crack, straight down the middle. Now the glass kind of triangled out a little bit, but if you look at the break, it is straight zack down the middle of the wood. But it wasn't tipped over. Cynthia, as far as I know, wasn't moved, but it just happened. And I don't know how it happened. It just happened. It didn't fall. I didn't kick it, nothing. Nobody was even there to even mess with it. I was the last one to leave, first one here. And since it broke, since we did that move and it broke, she has done less. And we don't experience as much as what we used to. Used to, there wouldn't be a day or two goes by, you would walk by and the door would be open.
Now, before you got Cynthia, can you tell me a little bit about the building? How long has it been here? You said, I think earlier it was originally a hardware store?
Yeah, so good question. So as far as I understand, building was built in 1942. It was originally a hardware store here in Wilkesboro. And, it was kind of a bustling place. They did a lot of stuff here. Matter of fact, a gentleman who used to work here as a teenager just came and visited us like 2 days ago and was telling us about how everything in the store used to be when it was a hardware store and whatnot. So yeah, it's being here since 1942. There's probably a lot of history. I know it's been. There's almost 100 years.
Almost 100, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so there's no telling what's happened here and what's been here.
Now, did you notice things before you got the doll, like anything in particular, or even after construction? Because I know sometimes if you change a space that...
Yeah, so good question. So, yeah, so I will tell you this. We got Cynthia not long after moving in here.
Right, and
So-
I remember when you first opened and
Yeah.
then coming here, and then a couple months later you had...
Yeah, so she has almost been here for the whole time I've been here. However, there's a few things that a lot of people have experienced inside the building itself, and a lot seems to have to do with the stairs in the back. So we have an upstairs, right, and there's a back stairway. That's the only way to get up there. Is up those stairs, and sometimes you'll be upstairs and it'll sound like somebody walking up the stairs, and you can really. And when we walk up there, or when you guys walk up there, you'll understand the footsteps are loud when walking up the stairs.
Right.
So you'll feel like, hey, there's somebody coming up. So you turn and you're watching, and nobody ever comes. And so that's one thing. Something's always about those stairs. Now the upstairs itself has had some interesting stuff. I experienced myself was with a trash can up there. One time it was early in the morning. I was up there watching TV. May even been on my phone, on TikTok, whatever it may have been, But I was just, wasn't down here because I didn't want people to see me thinking I was open. And you see what it's like. They'll even come up to the
Right.
door at 10 o'clock at night. So I'm up there and I'm by myself. And I hear like a noise of something sliding across the floor. And I get up and I look around and I realize it's this little black trash can we have up there that has slid across the floor. And so I thought that was interesting. I pushed the trash can back. And after I pushed the trash can back, I turn my back, I start walking towards where I was sitting at, and I hear it again. Shh, right across the floor again.
So after you put it back, it did it a second time.
It did it a second time. And I walk up, I open the trash can, I'm looking in the trash can, see if there's like, a mouse or, it's a
Right.
1942 building, you never know what is in here, but nothing there. It was just, the trash can was empty. There wasn't even nothing in there. No windows are open. It's just slid across the ground twice by itself.
That's interesting.
It is. We'll hear footsteps over here. I explained that a little bit ago.
Right.
The creak in the floor. We actually call it our security system. Because
you can probably hear that creak throughout the
so
pretty much entire store.
you'll walk across. If somebody walks across it, you'll hear the creak. It's happens every time, but we've caught it happening before. Nobody even be in the building, and also it is very obvious when somebody's upstairs. Heck, I think we caught a little bit of it just a minute ago.
And we did.
If there's sometimes, and this would be crazy. It would be the middle of the day. We'll be open, and we'll be in here working, doing our thing. And we have an event space up there, so we're always trying to monitor who's up there, because we have expensive equipment and whatnot up there.
Right.
And you'll hear thump, 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 thump on above our head, and we'll look at each other and go, "Who's upstairs?" There's nobody upstairs, but you can hear it, and it's very obvious when there's people walking or whoever's walking upstairs.
Now, how about the basement? Have you ever experienced anything in the basement? Because that looked to be pretty much all original, and
Yeah, so
I was scoping it out before.
it is very original. Now I don't go into the basement much, and it's not because I'm creeped out by it or anything. It is a creepy basement by no means. It's just it's an older basement, and I wouldn't want to store any of my product inside there. But one weird thing, and take this as you will, we just thought it was very unique when we got here. So when we first started originally renting this space, we didn't rent the downstairs. The downstairs, we started renting that last year when we took over the upstairs. So that was kind of a package deal.
Right, okay.
So, you know, at first we only rented this space. We weren't allowed downstairs or upstairs. So we started renting the whole space, and we got a hold of the downstairs. So, of course, we go down there trying to see what we could do with the space or what can be used. And as soon as we walked down there, and the people who rented this before us, they only rented this top floor, so I know they didn't utilize it. So whoever had it before us or them were possibly the ones who did this, but I don't know. So down there, and we've taken it down, but it was almost, have you ever seen Dexter?
Yeah.
You know how Dexter was set up a kill room where everything is plastic? So there was a space down there built like that.
Was it in the back corner?
It kind of took up, it was a rectangle. So it took up a long little spot, and as soon as you come down the stairs, it was directly to your left. But it had a curtain door, like not even curtain, a plastic flap door that you would walk into, and there was no there. It was just weird. It was very weird. We all called it the Dexter space. It was so weird. I've never seen anything like it. Everything else down there, it was completely clean. I would say that. But that was the only thing that was down there when we first took the space over. But to answer your question, I don't really go down there that much. At one point in time, it was very dim lit, so it was hard to see and such down there, and you never know what you're gonna run into, you know. So, yeah, I'm more than happy to see if you guys catch anything down there, though. That'd be unique.
Well, can you go ahead and give us a plug one more time on where people can come to see Cynthia?
Yeah, so she is located at Summit Gaming Collectibles here in downtown Wilkesboro at 111 West Main Street. You can come and see her anytime. She's always on the wall in the back, and you're more than welcome to touch her if you dare.
I love it. I love it.